Mountain Dew Code Red was brand new at the time. And we'd asked the teacher. She didn't even know, what Code Red was. And it was like, really? Like, okay. So, we ended up, finding out later that, it was, it was a bomb threat. So.
I remember a couple of those when I was in school, and from what I can remember, I don't even think my school really even took it seriously. I don't remember them evacuating the school or anything. In fact, I don't even remember hearing about it until like days later when the dummy that did it so they could get out of school that day, you found out that they were suspended or what have you.
Okay. Yeah, I think they ended up finding the kid or whatever, and I don't know whatever happened to him, but it was just, there was no bomb. It was just all a cry for help or something. I don't know. All I know was we were locked in our classrooms for over 2 hours, and I had to go to the bathroom very, very badly. So we couldn't leave our classroom, so...
That seems kind of funny. Your school's got a bomb threat and they're locking you in the school.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that weird? And I remember as soon as I found it was a bomb threat, and that was the first thing I thought. I was like, wait a minute. A bomb threat and you keep us in class. Where's the logic in this? You would think, get the students out, but guess not.
Yeah, guess not.
So anyways, back to gun control here. Now, I know you're pro-gun, right?
I am, yeah, most definitely. I mean, I'm pro-Second Amendment.
Right, okay, good. Now, even though, the filibuster, failed today, there's still going to be a long drawn-out debate on the Senate floor about these bills and the amendments. Now, let me just ask you, how worried are you that the Feinstein bill will be one of the amendments?
I don't know if I'm necessarily worried about it, but I think that it's bound to be. I've almost got the feeling that we're coming up on the 2014 midterm elections, and
right.
I'm almost thinking that we're seeing already with this filibuster Republicans cave in, and I think it has a lot to do with the midterms coming up. And I think when it's all said and done, Republicans, like always, are going to go ahead and not really fight this too much and just let it get through without a fight, so they can try to save face. Because in their minds, if they save face, that's going to help at the elections. Which I don't know why they haven't learned by now. That's not going to help them. But I think that's what's going to happen.
Well, you would think that the Democrats and the assault weapons ban push and stuff would be enough to secure a Republican takeover of the Senate and stuff in 2014. But here's the other thing that what I read that turned a lot of Republicans against a filibuster was Senate Majority Leader Henry Reid had stated that, and this is actually a Senate floor rule. We'll get more into this when we talk about the Constitution, but that basically if Senator Reid were to propose the gun legislation bill on the floor, that both parties, Democrat and Republican, would be able to add amendments to the bill. So basically, the GOP sold out for a guaranteed amendment slot.
Well, I think it was the best they were going to get, and let's
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, let's be real. The filibuster. I mean, I respect Rand Paul for this simply because he's doing his job. He's questioning the administration when he should be, and but let's be real about it. It wasn't going to change anything. All it was going to do was delay. It wasn't going to change. So, I
Right.
mean, I think in the long run, it was the best that Republicans are going to get.
Okay. Well, and and there is a proposed amendment to the bill that actually what is bipartisan, and I think Toomey, Senator Toomey, from Arizona, I believe, is one of the authors of it. But basically, it expands background checks at gun shows, but it also exempts background checks for private sales.
Now, see, I'm one of these ones that, I don't see what the big deal is with background checks, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's more to it that I'm missing. But for me personally, I don't really see what the big deal was. Same with the registering. It would seem like to me, I mean, I know that I don't have personally a problem with registering my firearms, and I would think that most law-abiding gun owners wouldn't have a problem with that. I mean, there's actually a lot of benefits that come along with registering your arms.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you right there. Basically, I'm just gonna tell you this: registration leads to confiscation. If you register your guns with the government, then the government's going to know who to take the guns away from. I don't get me wrong. I'm all for background checks, and I understand background checks. You don't, because you don't want to put firearms in the hands of lunatics. If anything, Sandy Hook has shown that yes, lunatics go on the warpath. Sandy Hook has shown us that. Aurora Theater has shown that. Columbine showed that. Virginia Tech, stuff like that. Mentally ill. We're trying to keep weapons out of their hands, and the background checks are the only thing that it's like our last line of defense as the people or as a society for those people to get the guns. Now, it's not to say that they won't get guns other places like the black market or illegal channels. That's very well could be. Like you said, Rick. None of these laws are going to stop criminals because, well, they're criminals. They don't follow the law anyway. So, it doesn't mean they're going to follow the law this time either. So, but when it comes to registration, I'm a big opponent against it, just because there's just I really don't want the government. At least the information that the government knows about me, I want to keep that as little as possible. Because let's just say gun confiscation happens. It's happening in New York. It's happening in California. Sorry, it's already happening. And if you register your gun, then all of a sudden the cops and the government knows exactly where to go and get the guns. Why leave a bread trail?
I hear what you're saying, and I've heard quite a few other people say this, and I guess I'm just one that doesn't want to believe that that's what our government is actually intending to do. Now, am I wrong or right? I don't know. I don't have a freaking clue. You never know about these things, but I'm just one that doesn't want to believe that's what the government's out to do, and really, to bring just a little bit of common sense to that, this has happened before. I mean, when Clinton was in office, we had this whole gun debate.
Yeah,
and people went crazy, and people we're doing the same thing that we're doing now, and talking about the government's out to take our guns, and they're going to confiscate and what have you, and so this has happened before, and I think people just tend to. I'm not saying they don't have a right to get worried about it, because you should question your government. By all means, you should question your government. But at the same time, I just think people are kind of jumping the gun on this a little bit.
Okay. Well, and yeah, I was only 14 when the Clinton assault weapons ban went through. But from what I read about it and heard about it, Clinton had, a stacked House. I mean, he had a Democratic Senate, he had a Democratic House, and they literally pushed it through the first 2 years of his presidency. Because after that, when it came down to the midterm elections and the gubernatorial elections, Democrats suffered big time because of the assault weapons ban, and a lot of Democrats lost their seat. And Clinton then had to deal with, I think it was a House-run Senate or a Republican Senate or something.
Yeah, and that may happen again this time. You don't know. I mean, that could very well happen again. All I'm trying to say is, I'm just, again, I guess I'm trying to hold out hope that,
Right.
our government's not out to do that. Now, again, times are a little weird nowadays, and that could be very well what they're out to do. But I guess until they're knocking on my door and asking to see my guns, it's just kind of hard for me to believe that that's what they actually want to do.
Right. Well, and I understand. I understand. I mean, it is a huge pill to swallow, to think that one's own government, especially the United States government, would even be capable of this. I mean, we're known as the freedom country. People leave their homes and other countries to come to America just because of our freedoms and stuff like that. So, it's kind of like a huge slap in the face to even hear about this. But when it comes to all this, the greatest philosophy I've done is prepare for the worst, hope for the best. So and that's kind of what I do on the show here is, hey, I give you kind of the worst case scenario on what might happen. Doesn't mean is it actually going to happen? No, not really. I'm not a fortune teller. I mean, if I was, I'd be rich because I won the lotto. But I can only predict the future on what history has already shown me. That's all. That's my only. My cheat sheet right there is history. And if anything is, if history's taught us anything, that gun registration, usually leads to confiscation. You look at the German Nazis. That's the first thing that they did. And we actually have a clip from a Nazi survivor. But she's actually saying that Hitler was actually voted in by 98% of the population, which basically landslide victory. And they tried the gun legislation, and then they said it's still a problem. Then they did the gun registration, then they did the gun confiscation, and then they took over. Well, World War II started. So.
Well, right, and I also just want to make clear, just because I don't necessarily think that they're coming to grab our guns, I do think that this whole deal of us spending there's so much more going on that we need to worry about, and all this time that we're spending on more gun laws, I think is just ridiculous, because I did my homework on this, and because I did a show on it, and
Okay.
And across the United States, well, just with the federal government, we have, I think it was, now don't quote me on this number because I can't remember the exact number, but it was like 241 federal gun laws. I mean, that's a lot of laws federally. And then just now, if you take all the states and add up all the different states' gun laws, it comes up to be over 20,000 different gun laws. So, in my mind is, you're trying to tell me out of all these laws that we already have on the books when it comes to guns, we actually need more? I mean, I think we have enough there to work with to try to, do whatever it is that, that they're trying to do without having to add more to it.
Right. Well, and I was going to say that another part of the amendment would give authority or something to law enforcement to actually enforce the current gun laws or something like that.
Well, to me, that would be the only amendment we need right there. One page, not even a full page. There's a half a page. That's all we need. Just enforce the ones that we have.
I don't understand why we need legislation to tell law enforcement, hey, enforce the legislation.